video, we're going to be looking at roasting. The reason we roast coffee is that the coffee bean, in its raw state, is super dense and very hard. If you try to bite into it, you'd break your teeth. By roasting the bean, we penetrate its denseness, breaking down the cell structure and making it more brittle. Historically, roasting was done by putting coffee beans in a pan and heating that pan over an open fire to turn the green beans brown. Roasting is such a pivotal part of the process, sitting between the efforts of the farmers in harvesting the coffee and the efforts of the baristas in making the coffee in cafes. In the roasting process, you're taking a green bean, a raw product that will have anywhere between 10 and perhaps 13% moisture content. In applying heat to the beans, a number of things happen. As well as breaking down the cell structure, the heat also removes around a third of the moisture content. This helps release the beans' aromatics and amplify their natural flavours. It's a bit like cooking in general. By heating up food, we change the characteristics of the fish or meat or vegetable to something tastier. When you roast coffee beans, there are many variables in terms of roasting time, speed of the roasting drum, temperature, and even the makeup of the bean. You can roast the same coffee in many different ways and get many different flavour differences in them. I use an air roaster and would typically roast anywhere between, say, 9 to 12 minutes, depending on the style of the roast, light, medium, or dark. When I drop the beans into the roaster, it's already set to 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. The type of coffee varietals I'm roasting will determine how I apply the heat. Something that might be really dense and small, I might hit with a lot of heat at the start. As opposed to beans that are a bit bigger with a looser cell structure, I may need to be more gentle. We have lots of monitors and probes inside the drum, giving us constant feedback, including temperature monitors. As coffee roasters, we talk about the rate of rise. That is the speed that we're applying the heat to the beans. As we continue to roast, the coffee starts turning browner, losing that green colour, meaning the cell structure is changing. There's a lot of evaporation of water and the beans are then going exothermic, which means they're generating their own energy and making their own heat. For us, as for temperatures of the beans inside our roaster, when the crack happens, it can be up around 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit. Not surprisingly, that's generally known to coffee roasters as the first crack. The time after this is called the development time, an important part of the process where I'm monitoring the time before the end of roast. In terms of types of roasters, the two most common are air roasters and drum roasters. There are many different types with an array of features, but generally speaking, air roasting involves using hot air within a roasting chamber to heat the beans, whilst drum roasting uses a rotating cylindrical drum. I use an air roaster. With this, I have to manage many variables, depending on the load I'm putting in, so I'm looking at speed and trying to balance that with managing the temperature in the beans. I'm also monitoring the temperature in the drum and controlling the length of the roast. I'm looking to balance and manage all of these things, and that really is the art of roasting, managing and controlling all the different variables. In my business, I roast to order, so that may involve roasting the beans light, medium, or dark. In general, lighter roasts will retain more of the natural flavours of the bean and offer a more nuanced flavour, whilst darker roasts will better represent more boldness and intensity. Some of the cafes I roast for like to make coffee in a way that showcases third wave specialty coffee, the different varietals, regions, processing methods, and countries. So I roast a little lighter for increased nuance. The general vibe is that you roast a bit darker for espresso and a bit lighter for filter coffee. That said, there are no real rules. You can run light roasted coffee through an espresso machine, and you can put a dark roast through a filter machine or pour over, and you'll still get great flavours. What you like best is all that matters.